you get a certain amount of cult followers for anything, and then the true believers never die. I mean, a lot of people would say right now the Democratic Party is still in that mode, which is going to render them possibly an irrelevant party if they don't change.
I'm not questioning your motivation. I'm questioning Trump's, okay? And if we can say that you went there in good faith, but maybe, just maybe, he wasn't there in good faith. I mean, you sold him on the Iran deal and he took it in. I mean, give me a break, okay? So the idea here is that your motivation is sound, but what's the impact? And I think a lot of people out there, fans of yours, people who love you, people who are fans of you, like me, I've been fans of you.
You don't have to patronize me, dude. I don't know you. I never met you.
I'm just saying that this comes from
not everybody has to like it. That's what we said. There are people who didn't want it to happen at all. You sound like one of them. It's
no.
But did you hear what
Josh, you get close to them and then it starts to take over.
Yeah, guess what, America? Guess what, America? We're all part of the same hypocrisy. All right. Including Steve, including myself. We're all.
Keep me out of it.
Yeah.
Too late.
The wokies were just bombed by Bill Maher, who posted the entire event to his own channel. The woke Dems are enraged, as one might imagine. But if you look closely, you'll see that something more significant is taking place here. It's obvious that Bill is moving further to the right than before. He totally destroyed Josh Rogin, one of his woke Democratic guests, on his most recent show, and said the very thing the left has been avoiding for years. You'll want to watch this one through to the end, I promise.
Just wanted to report exactly what I saw. I did it to the best of my abilities.
Counterpoint?
I can be. Yes.
Counterpoint?
Yeah.
You know, Bill, I think you're right in saying that people have made too much of this, okay? It's not the Ulta Summit. You're not Churchill. Kid Rock is not Stalin. Trump sugar shit isn't FDR, okay? So, yes, I believe too much has been made about this, but I think you've fallen into the trap. I think I represent 99% of the internet when I say this, is that you've played the game of proximity is principle. And what people are worried about is not your motivation. We believe you. We love you, Bill. Everybody loves Bill, right? I'm not questioning your motivation. I'm questioning Trump's, okay? And if we can say that you went there in good faith, but maybe, just maybe, he wasn't there in good faith. I mean, you sold him on the Iran deal and he took it in. I mean, give me a break, okay? So the idea here is that your motivation is sound, but what's the impact? And I think a lot of people out there, fans of yours, people who love you, people who are fans of you, like me, I've been fans of you.
You don't have to patronize me, dude. I don't know you. I never met you.
I'm just saying that this comes from
not everybody has to like it. That's what we said. There are people who didn't want it to happen at all. You sound like one of them. It's okay. Did you hear what I said?
Yeah.
Like, what is the alternative to not talking? Just sit at your lunch table and don't talk to anybody?
I talked to him. I've interviewed Trump. Here's his interview.
That's just not an interview. This was not an interview.
I agree with the principle of engagement. I'm just saying, from his perspective, you have to understand that people out there know, all Americans know, that for him this was a PR stunt, and in his view, you were a prop in that PR.
Well, I'm not really sure why Bill Maher invited that awakened jerk to his show in the first place, but I'm glad he did, since he ended up correcting the man. The fact that Bill actually called it out before it happened made it even better, since he knew the wokies would not like a word of it. And, as clockwork dictated, they chose to disregard the truth and immediately resume advancing their own skewed agenda.
I think.
Well, it's just good politics to pick on, taxes on tips, all these little things. That
it's somewhat of a distraction from the ongoing.
And raise taxes on the wealthy. He said it last week.
Is that coming?
It's coming.
But what about the tax cut for the wealthy? Isn't that coming too?
No. It's going to be extended. He's not going to extend the tax cuts for the wealthy. He's going to no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, and no tax on overtime.
So you're saying all the donors are about to get a tax hike?
They're already screaming. But he told the Senate that he's open to when extending the tax cuts, not extend them.
Open to. So
no. But he's already, I think, and Scott Bessent, the Secretary of Treasury, I think, is working on this, not to extend it to the upper bracket or make a new bracket.
And you think Congress is going to pass that, knowing who they get their money from?
They do whatever he tells them to do.
If President Trump comes in and says they do it, he'll
Okay, so the Steve Bannon plan is that Republicans are going to abandon the donor class, and then what's going to happen in 2020?
Where else are they going to go? We got total leverage over them. Where else are they going to go?
Well, there's another election coming up.
They're going in the midterms and the thing, but where else are they going to go? If you don't restore the economic viability of the working class and the middle class, and you have to do that by sealing the border, right? So it's not flooded with illegal alien labor. Number two is the tariffs to bring manufacturing jobs back. And the third is that working class and middle class people need a tax cut. They need no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and most importantly, no tax on Social Security. That's another $500 billion a year we have to come with. That's why, by the way, it's going to be a huge fight. But the Democrats and progressives had control in 2021 in those first 100 days, and they put up a taxing the billionaires, and it didn't even get out of committee.
The Democrats are on course to lose even more male voters nationwide because of this guy, who I don't know where they discovered. He continuously interrupts, shouts over people, and brings nothing to the table, giving the impression that he is the unwelcome child in a room full of grown-ups. Josh seems to be merely attempting to gain notoriety in the mainstream media by disparaging Trump whenever he can, even if it makes him appear absurd.
Perhaps, did I ever think I was going to be talking about tariffs every day? I really didn't. I did not see that coming up. And it's fucking boring. I don't like tariffs. I think I'm generally with the consensus, which is that this is some chaotic attempt to bring back an era in this country that has just gone with the wind, the manufacturing. But I don't know. I was shocked to see that the failing New York Times.
You're even sounding like him.
Their headline a week ago was "Global Trade Robs U.S." Trump says, "Does he have a point?"
Yeah. I mean, I think Trump has this amazing ability to correctly diagnose a problem and then to bungle the solution with a policy that's totally incoherent and incompetent. And I think that's what we're seeing here. I mean, if you think about it, it's obvious that they don't have a strategy because the strategy changes every day and the people at the top of the administration have no idea what the strategy is. They can't articulate it. And saying that you're going to only have a trade war with China and not the rest of the world is kind of like saying, oh, don't worry, we're not going to burn down the house. We're just going to set fire to the kitchen. And then everything's going to be okay. And it's reckless. And people know that. And real people suffer from the consequences of the collateral damage that comes from jerking back and forth into we're going to have huge tariffs, then we're not going to have huge tariffs.
Yeah, I don't think anybody likes that. I mean,
No, but isn't he just doing what he always does, Donald Trump? He'll take an extreme position. He starts there. He throws everything against the wall. He sees how it plays out, and he starts to game it, and then he starts to work out what's popular, what's not. Where's he reached in 1 week? Total mayhem to start with. Markets freaking, everything collapsed, everyone going crazy. Liberals around the world going into anaphylactic shock. Fine. They literally do that when he wakes up, so it's fine. But look where we ended up the week. Markets roaring back, and actually China, who is the main target of his eye, and always has been. I've interviewed him probably more than any journalist alive. He's always gone on about China ripping off America, and on that, he's absolutely right. It has. And now he's ended up in a place where it's the United States against China, and I would actually back the United States to win a trade war right now with China and put China back in its box. What I did...
If I were to sum up this guy in one word, it would be arrogant. In fact, it's quite unlikable. For anyone watching this from outside the US, this may be the most out-of-touch guest Bill Maher has ever had on. It truly appears that these individuals are more concerned with damaging Trump's image than they are with taking any action to benefit the nation. They fail to see that Trump is making every effort to restore America's greatness, and that is precisely what frightens them.
2017, when Trump was president first, they're much stronger, they're much more powerful, they have a lot of relationships. And when we wage a trade war on the rest of the world at the same time, we're essentially pushing them into China's waiting arms. Because you can wage a war on China, but you can't wage a war on every country in the world.
The thing I learned this week, reading a couple of people, Fareed Zakaria mostly, he was great on it, but a few people brought up this point that I think really went under the radar, is that we're not a country who's being suckered and doing terrible and getting our ass kicked. Everything is always taking advantage. And, just some stats that are out there. 2008, the U.S. economy was about the same size as the European Union. Now it's twice. Went from 14 to 28 trillion, and they only went up to 15. Okay? 1990, average U.S. wages were 20% greater than the overall average in every industrialization. Now they're 40% higher. $80,000. A lot of this stuff you don't realize because, I don't know, I'm going to say Americans are complainers. Obviously, if your life isn't going great and you're struggling, and a lot of people are, that's very real to you. But Mississippi, I read, our poorest state, is richer than France, richer than the UK, richer than Japan. So we're doing this sort of on a false premise. Also, I thought this was really interesting. Wages. The wage gap has not really changed since 1960. If you add in all the money that goes from taking it from rich people for benefits and so forth, it's pretty much the same as it was in 1960. I don't think people are using this model to make their decisions about the economy. I think a lot of people with the tariffs are like, we're so fucked, the system is just corrupt, so throw it all out. We need something drastic, just break everything.
Right.
And what's there to lose? And you have a lot to lose. Your 401k, your car that you can't afford now. You have a lot to lose.
I think, Bill, I think you're exactly right on this point. I think what Trump has done, again, in classic Trump fashion, is identified a real problem. The benefits of globalization since the end of the Cold War were not evenly distributed amongst the rich and the poor. And that was a failing of Western governments.
You see, the woke libtards put in a lot of effort to conceal this kind of material from you. Because at all costs, their one goal is to spread hatred towards Trump. Furthermore, this man may be the most obnoxious person I have ever seen on television. Even worse than anything on CNN or MSNBC. The underlying issues we face are never truly addressed by these wokies. However, they panic like it's the end of the world the moment Trump takes action to make things better.
Work for the Washington Post. Your owner, Jeff Bezos, has done a lot more than Bill Maher in crossing the divide with Trump. He used to be very critical of Trump. But in the last year and a half or so, or since his shooting actually, he seems to have performed a massive U-turn on Trump. He called him and praised him after he was shot at a New York Times event in December. Bezos said he was optimistic about a second Trump presidency. He had dinner at Mar-a-Lago in December 2024. He pledged $1 million to Trump's inauguration fund. He attended the inauguration. Amazon, obviously one of his companies, main company, streamed Trump's inauguration on its Prime Video service and is also paying $40 million for a Melania Trump documentary. I mean, as a Washington Post senior journalist, how do you feel about all that?
Yeah, well, again, I wasn't trying to criticize Bill, and if it came off that way, then maybe I didn't craft my critique perfectly. I was trying to criticize the idea that engagement with Trump is some sort of bridge towards healing the cultural divide, because I just don't think that's going to be the result. And I think when business leaders go to meet with Trump, that's a different set of calculations. And I work at the Washington Post. I'm not privy to what goes on at the ownership level. I just work there. I'm not part of the management. I'm not part of the ownership. I've never met Jeff Bezos. I don't know what his calculations are. And I don't, that's above my pay grade, Piers. It's not a duck. It's just, I don't have any insight into what goes on above me at the Washington Post. All I can say is that I'm not against engagement, and I understand that Trump is the president and business leaders have to engage with the president, and the way that they do it matters. That's how I feel about it. All right,
but Josh, look, if it looks like a duck and it sounds like a duck, it's probably a duck. I mean, you can appreciate that if you're Bill Maher watching you refusing to be remotely critical of what your own owner has done with Trump in terms of kissing the ring, you could potentially see that he might think there's a double standard there.
That's all I have to say about this man. He is now abandoning all he professed to stand for, and it was all captured on live TV. Please share your thoughts about him in the comments section below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to this video. There will be more truths to come.